So I have a question for you guys. How many of you came here and really had a good idea of what Leap was? Like you came in like, I just know like what this is going to be. Versus, I'm going to ask, versus how many of you came and were like totally shocked it turned out to be something completely different. So, oh, that's the one. How many came in and are because I was reading all these I appreciate notes from you guys, and like 99% of them. So most of you really had no idea what Leap was like, right? And somebody really smart in your life talked you into coming, right? Okay, so here's the ask. I want you to be that somebody really smart and share it with your friends, because like I go out and I speak at seminars and I speak at programs and, and people are like, oh, well, you're just all passionate about it because that's your thing, But Rainey and I were having a conversation because our parents are in this thing called YPO. And there isn't a YPO family in the world that doesn't get this kind of leadership stuff. Like there should be 200 YPO kids here. And I think, are there any other besides you, Rainey? No. I mean, and I have been like banging on YPO door, with Charlie and James. We've had like multiple meetings with these guys. And they just don't. But coming from you, it's a whole different thing. Get it? Good. So spread the word. All right, are we ready? We're ready. All right. This man needs no introduction. I say this now. I said it this morning. I'm going to say it again because I want him to hear me. I, as a professional speaker, sit in the back of the room every time he gets on stage in awe. If you could emulate his style, his pizzazz, his ability to motivate and capture an audience, it's golden. It's just golden. And he is another one of the speakers that I told you has made a commitment to be here. Every year he comes here. We don't pay him. He dedicates his time, his energy, his heart, and his love to you guys because just like me, he loves you and he wants to see you succeed. So please welcome my dear friend, Jonathan Sprinkles. Come on, you guys. I can hear better than that.
Come on. Come on. Hey. Come on. Hey. Come on. Hey, say clap your hands, everybody. Everybody clap your hands. Come on. Say clap your hands, everybody. Everybody clap your hands. Everybody say hola, hola, hey. Come on, come on. Say hola, hola, hey. Come on. Say woo-wee. Come on, come on. Say woo-wee. Come on. Now throw your hands in the air and wave them like you just don't care. And if you're ready to have some fun this morning, all the leapers say, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Now everybody repeat after me at the top of your voice. Say, if it is going to be.
If it is going to be.
That's good, but not good enough for us. Say, if it is going to be.
If it is going to be.
Then it's up to me.
It's up to me.
So I choose to see.
So I choose to see.
Only the possibilities.
Only the possibilities.
See, I control what I think. Come on, I control what I think. And I control how I feel. Everybody say, I know I'm great. Come on, one more time, loud and proud. Say, I know I'm great. And that's for real. Every day, I will be the best me. Come on, one more time. Say, the best me. Now project it to your future. Say, the best me that I can possibly be. Everybody look at your neighbor and say, neighbor. Oh, neighbor. Look here. You need to know something. Times change. Seasons change. And you better believe people change. But there's one thing that will never change. That is. That I. Will always look better than you. Give yourself a big round of applause, fam. Come on. Put some energy in the room. Come on, put some energy in the room.
He actually is the only speaker we have who looks better than me.
Great to see you, my friend. Oh, we do. All right. Whoa, if you're ready to have some fun this morning, somebody say fun. Come on, if you're ready to have some fun this morning, somebody say fun. Now, I'm going to let you all in on a little bit of a secret. Some of you saw me back there getting a little into gear. I was surprised this morning by a couple of things. And is it okay if I keep it 100 with you? Yes. Can I keep it 1,000 with you? Yes. All right, so here's the thing that you know. You know that I'm here now. What you didn't know was that I was going to be here a lot earlier. And this is the reason why I was not here earlier. Because I woke up at 3:45 this morning on purpose, and I ran a half marathon.
Yes, you did.
And then I got lost. And then I kept running and kept running and kept running. And by the time I got back to my car, it was 16 miles that I had run. I've never run 16 miles in my life. If it was a reality show, they probably couldn't even air it because of all of the swearing that I was doing. So it was a very interesting thing. So there's a reason why I ran this half marathon. Because every single month this year, I've dedicated myself to running a half marathon. Once a month, I run a half marathon. I've never done that before. Why do I do it? Because it's difficult to do. Because it's very challenging. It means that I have to stay in shape. It means that I have to stay mentally strong. It means that I have to be ready to perform at any given time. Now, I wasn't setting any speed records. Anybody in here do any track and field or cross country? If so, say I do. All right, cool. I'm not going to challenge any of you for your records, believe me. You know, most of you would be laughing at me if you saw some of my time, but I did it though. That's the most important part, but I did it. I don't look at as much of what I would do in reference to somebody else. As a matter of fact, the last time I was doing a training run, I was so tired. I was running at what I thought was a good 80% of my max, and I got passed up by another guy who had a 30-pound weight jacket on his back. And I learned how to say three words. And these 3 words have set me free because I don't know about you, but I know that I've fallen victim to comparison a lot of times. I like to compare. Oftentimes, I compare my chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 10. And so I start to look at other people and say, man, I'm not as blank as them. I don't look as blank as them. I don't have as many blank as them. And so I've learned 3 words that have set me free. And if you feel like they may help you, then I invite you to also adopt them for yourself. My 3 words were, good for you. The guy passed me by, bro, good for you. Good job. Somebody can run faster than me, run further than me, good for you. Well, I can do that same thing in half the time. Good for you. Because you're on a different journey. Running is very humbling because on your fastest day, somebody is faster than you. And on your slowest day, somebody is slower than you. When you are feeling your best, somebody can do better. And so it's very humbling, and you learn how to stop looking to your left and to your right, and you learn how to look straight ahead. You learn how to focus on your own 2 feet, because it gets to a point where it doesn't matter what the other people can do if you're not moving your feet. If you're not moving the only thing that you can control, then you're not going to get to your goal anyway. And so I discovered that really just this morning as I was running for 3 hours, I started thinking about you. And I asked myself, what story do I want to tell you? Because I was going to have to tell you the truth. I'm not going to stand in front of you and lie. There's too many coaches who have said, I've seen you for X amount of years. I get excited. Dr. Bill's mom was so kind enough to say, I'm here to see you this morning. I was like, oh, man, this is so great. I have all these expectations. People are watching online. Hey, to the streaming audience. And, oh, by the way, my son is at home watching. He is turning 13 in 2 days. So everybody, if you can, wave to my son. Hey, we call him Rabbit. He's a runner too. Everybody say, hey, Rabbit. Hey, Rabbit. All right, he better text me if you just heard that. And if you didn't hear it, then you're in trouble. All right. So I'm thinking about what am I going to tell you? And this is not initially what I'm going to talk about, but it has everything to do with what we're going to talk about today. As I was running, I think I ran, Dr. Bill, you might appreciate where I started. I was on Fairfax and Olympic at Starbucks. And then I ran all the way to the 405 freeway and beyond. And then I had to find my way back. And that's when I got lost because I only took a picture of Starbucks on Fairfax. And then I was thinking, oh, okay, well, obviously I can find it. And then I typed in Starbucks near me. And it's like 300 different Starbucks on Fairfax. Dumbest thing I've ever done. And so I said, okay, so how am I going to fix this? What am I going to do? How are we going to make a story out of this? They say comedy is tragedy plus time. And it hasn't been enough time yet, so it's still just a tragedy. But I was asking myself, what am I going to tell my friends at Leap? And I said, you know what, the truth is, I've only been running for 3 years. I just had my 3-year run-iversary. And I have only been at this for a little while, and I've already achieved more than some in their entire life. So I'm going to show you that there's really just 4 things that you need in order to run or to achieve any goal that you want. Anything that you want to achieve in your life, all you need is 4 things. So number 1 is your mission. Everybody say mission. So I knew why I was doing this run. And can I get a water, if that's okay? I knew why I was doing this run. I had a sense of mission. A mission will guide you like an invisible hand in every choice that you make. Thank you so much. When you have a mission, it's like having a sense of purpose. Everybody say purpose. Yeah, when you have purpose. Now, the opposite of doing something with purpose is doing it without purpose. And so you have to have a sense of purpose, understanding why are you even here? Why are you doing this? Because there will be a time inevitably when it becomes very challenging. There will be a time inevitably when you doubt yourself. There will be a time when you experience some obstacles. There was a time when I was going downhill and I was like, oh, this is easy. But once you go downhill, what do you have to do on the way back? Go what? Uphill. And it was not so easy. And when I'm faced with those times when it wasn't so easy, I had to remember why I got out of the bed at 3:45 this morning, why I decided I was going to do this crazy thing. So you have to have a sense of mission. Your sense of mission will always bring you back to your center. It doesn't always change your circumstances, but as Dr. Wayne Dyer said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So when you understand why you're doing this, it helps you to always have the right perspective. My sister is brilliant. She said to me, talking about another topic, but this is very relevant here. She said, you may want to add this to your notes. She said, when you have a long-term vision, even short-term setbacks have their place. We just lost our funding. Okay, it's a setback. Somebody just quit. Okay, it's a setback. We should have more YPO kids here. Okay, it's a setback. I was in an accident, drunken driving accident. Okay, it's a setback. Tony Robbins said, you have to ask yourself this question, is this the end or is it the beginning? Because if it's the end, if you get to a point in your relationship and you feel like this is the end of the relationship, you're going to start treating it like it's what? The end of the relationship. Your attitude will change. Your demeanor is going to change. The way that you treat that person is going to change because you're saying this is the end. But if you believe this is the beginning of a new chapter. This is the beginning of new opportunities. This is the beginning of something that I'm going to do now that I couldn't do before. It's all about the attitude that you have. You're going to start treating it like it's the beginning. You're going to start protecting and preserving it. You're going to decide what you're going to say and what you're not going to say. You're going to make some choices that you wouldn't make otherwise. So is this the beginning or is it the end? First thing you have to have is a mission. Next thing you need to have is form. Everybody say form. You got to have the right form. So after you've been running for a while, the first thing to go when you become fatigued is your form. You have to have a certain rhythm to what you do. Now, there's a lot of things that are not relevant to you, so I'm not going to go into running form that I've had to learn, but there are some things that can start to change a bit over time. Like you can start to slouch over, you can start to look down, and you're supposed to keep your head up. You can run on the back of your feet, called heel striking, which is where people get injured, versus running on your toes, which is how you run faster. So time is always going to challenge your form. If you have good form, you can get through anything. So I'm going to ask you this question. I want you to add this to your notes. What routine do I have that can help me get through any challenge that comes my way? What one thing can I always depend on? What's one thing that I know that when all heck breaks loose in my life, that I know I can always come back to this thing? What's that one routine? What's one habit that I have? What's one thing that when I need to get back to my center, what's one thing that will help me to get back to who I know I am? What's one thing that brings me back to me? Sometimes for some it might be a prayer or a faith relationship. Sometimes it's journaling. Sometimes it's conversations with a friend. What is that routine that makes you win? Why? Because they say you don't rise to your level of expectation, you fall to your level of training. When it all goes down, it's your training that will allow you to bend but never break. The only difference between you and the best person that you compare yourself to, whether it's in sports, in academics, in business, or in life, the only thing is that they do always what you do occasionally. They do it because it needs to be done. You do it because you feel like doing it. The only thing that's in the gap between you and them is their training. Everybody say training. So you have to have a mission. You have to have your form. You have to have the third thing. It's breathing. You gotta breathe through it. Now, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be very honest with you again. Can I keep it 1,000 with you? Is that okay? Yes. The rest of you, is that okay? Yes. So I'm here today, and I'm very excited about what we're going to discuss. I'm very excited about this conversation. But I'm also going to tell you, you could tell that I'm a very generally positive person, that I'm very motivating and sometimes motivated. I'm a lot of things that some of you look at and say, well, I want to embrace some of those characteristics. But if I can be very honest with you, this is July. For the last 9 months, my life has been very challenging, possibly the toughest 9 months that I can count back in my life. And when I tell you a little bit more about my life, you'll understand and appreciate why I say this, because this has been a different challenge for me. It hasn't been like, oh, I'm short on money. It's like, oh, I have to move, and that's stress. No. The battle has been within. As a matter of fact, it started back when we were all stuck inside. And I remember there was a time when I was on Alameda Road in Houston, Texas, where I live, and I was going to turn right and go home. And If you've ever seen the clouds just roll in, if you've ever just seen, like, if you live in a place where you could see the clouds coming in, you're like, there's a storm that's coming. That's what it was like inside, in my emotions. And I could see the clouds coming in, and they were rolling, but they were coming in so fast, I couldn't stop it. And before I knew it, it seemed like the best thing that I could use to describe it is if you found out that your dog died and you had, like, failed all your classes and you discovered that you had a life-threatening disease and your best friend said, I never want to talk to you again. It was something like that all at the same time. Like, I felt so bad, so quickly, and there wasn't anything, quote unquote, wrong. And I was dealing with that in a way that was not very productive because I thought, well, I'm a very positive and productive person. I'm a, quote, good person. How could I have this depressive type thing going on or these anxious feelings? My heart would start to race and I couldn't catch my breath sometimes. I felt like everything was happening wrong all at the same time and I did not know how to catch it. And I'll just fast forward a little bit. Through the process, I learned some different techniques, and I'm going to teach you how to use them because they're going to be very important for us to work through some of the things that I'm going to teach you today. I said that breath was so important. It's the third out of the four things that you need in order to achieve any physical or long-term goal that you have in your life. Your breath is so important. Your breath and how you breathe through the things. The reason why I'm telling you about this isn't because I just want to put all my business out there. The reason why I'm telling you about this is because when I'm not here at Leap, I invest a lot of time working with high-performance people. I've worked with high-level athletes. I've worked with entrepreneurs, CEOs, people who are in very high-performance, high-profile places where the whole world is watching them. And what I know for sure is that a lot of people like you, people who are positive, motivated, who are very goal-oriented, who are in rooms like this, you say, I'm a 10, I'm a 10. And sometimes everybody believes it, but you. Sometimes you go into places and you feel like I'm around people, but if they knew the truth about who I was, would they still accept me? Some of you, when you look at what you're greatest at is not just achieving, you're greatest at hiding what's happening. And you use your achievement as a comfortable place to hide. Because if I perform well, then nobody asks, how are you doing? If I am in everybody else's face, nobody asks what's going on inside my heart. And I know that it's in this room. I know because I've seen it. I remember working at the NCAA headquarters most recently, and there was a diver from the beautiful country of Mexico. And she came up to me and said, I really appreciate what you just said. Now, she was very good at what she does. She can do all the flips in the air and all this and hit the water with no splash. And she looked at me, and I'll never forget this. She said, I believe in myself when I'm in the pool, but outside, I have no confidence in myself. So some of us have confidence in what we do. Some of us have confidence in what we look like. Some of us have confidence that we know that we can get friends, or we know that we can make somebody laugh. But who are you to yourself? And so what I discovered was that because a lot of us are dealing with a lot of things, and sometimes we don't even have a name for it, I decided that this is the year that I'm going to be very transparent with you and talk with you about what things look like so that you no longer have to suffer in silence. Because when you look at somebody like me, you say, I understand this guy, he really seems to be very confident. He seems like he has it all together. And in some cases, I'm doing better than most. But in other cases, we're breathing the exact same air. We're in the exact same place. And what I need you to know is, you may want to add this to your notes, it's okay to have problems, but it's not okay for your problems to have you. And so I'm going to show you how to breathe through it. Some of you need this now. Some of you will need it later. Some of you are saying, oh my gosh, I'm so glad somebody is finally saying it because it's given me voice to finally disclose this thing that I've been working through. I want you to know this doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you weird or that something is wrong with you. You know what it makes you? Human. It makes you a human being. And everybody in here, whether now or later, will have some human moments. And it's okay. You could be a really good person who goes through some really bad things sometimes. You are beautifully human. And right now, I want us to have a human moment. I'm going to show you how to work through this. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to take your right hand, place that hand over your heart, not your Pledge of Allegiance heart, your actual heart, okay? Take your right hand, put it over your heart. Take your left hand, put it over your belly. There you go. Now, what I want you to do is sit up straight. Sit up straight. Perfect. And now I'm going to show you two different techniques, and they have different purposes. When you feel very anxious and you feel like you need to recenter yourself, I'm going to show you a technique that will help you within a very short period of time to emotionally process what you're going through. Because emotions are like a gang fight. They just start to jump on you. And then the next thing, somebody comes and hits you out of this place. Next thing you know, something hits you in another place. And you start thinking of old stuff and recalling, and then you start worrying about the future and you start worrying about all kinds of stuff. And it's not fair, okay? So I'm going to show you how you can win this fight. Okay, take your right hand and your left hand. And what we're going to do is just breathe in through our nose, and then we are going to hold, and then we're going to exhale, and we will hold. This is a technique known by some as box breathing. Some of you know what I'm talking about. Okay, take your right hand over your heart, left hand over your belly. Here we go. We're going to breathe in to the count of 4. Ready? Breathe in. And hold. Exhale to the count of 4. And hold. Inhale to the count of 4. Hold. Exhale slowly through your mouth. Hold. Inhale to the count of 4. Positivity. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale all the positivity. At the bottom of your exhale, I want you to say, I'm okay. I'm okay. No. Say it with me. As a matter of fact, talk to yourself like you were a child. Say, you're okay. Okay? All right? Inhale. On the exhale, you're going to tap your chest and say, you're okay. Exhale. You're okay. Very good. That's one. Let me ask you, how do you feel right now? Give me some words. Talk to me. You feel calm? What are some other words? Relaxed. What else? You feel what? Light. Thank you for sharing. What else? How do you feel? Strong. You feel safe. Yes. Clear, yes. So this is a tool that I want you to use throughout the day today. This is not something that you only break in case of emergency, okay? This is not a fire hose just to put out a fire. I want you to use this whenever you feel like you need to get back to your center. Can anybody see yourself using this? Throughout your day, throughout your life, before a big moment, before a test, anytime you feel anxious, anytime that you start to feel a way that makes you feel uncomfortable. Can you see yourself using this? If so, say yes. Very good. So that's called box breathing. I like to talk to myself. I like to tell myself, if I could be 1,000 with you, I had to use this on Sunday, this last Sunday. Today is Thursday. I knew I was coming here. I'm still the same guy. I had to use this technique. Why? Because I'm human. I had to sit in my car and stop and breathe and say, you're okay. And I had to keep doing it until I believed it. See, you have to, as they say, you have to speak what is not as though it were until it is. You got to keep saying it. We're going to talk about that in a moment. It is important that you learn to talk to yourself and comfort yourself so you can talk your way through it. Life will try to take you off of your course, but you have to bring yourself back onto your course. So that was number one, box breathing. The second technique I want you to use and adopt is called a reset breath. Everybody say reset. Now, reset breaths are what I use when I run, because sometimes I'll think something really negative, like I'm so tired, my legs hurt, I can't do this, I don't have any more energy, and a bunch of other things that I can't repeat from the stage. So I say a bunch of things. And I have to stop and get negativity out and put positivity back in. I have to have some positivity. I got to come up with things that are going to help me just clear out all the things that I don't want. Now, what you don't want to do is wrestle with negativity, because negativity doesn't fight fair. Negativity will always try to bring up stuff that is more than you can rationalize at that time, whether it's from the past or even from your future. So what you have to do is just simply fight back with one word that will kick it out. Like, for example, if somebody broke into your house, you don't call 911 saying, excuse me, like, this person is like in my bedroom. Can you send somebody? No. What do? Hey, have somebody get out of here. This is an intruder in my house. You have no business here. This person does not belong here. Get here as fast as you can, right? You have to speak with some urgency. You have to speak with some intelligence. You have to speak with that level of command that says this is what must happen. And so when you take a reset breath, all we're going to do is same thing. You're going to breathe in. But this time, instead of breathing out slow, you're going to breathe it out fast, almost like whatever's in your head is going to come out through your mouth. And then at the bottom, we're all going to say reset. What reset does is it triggers your brain to stop thinking about whatever you're thinking about. Now, you can then insert the positivity afterwards, but what you're doing is you're getting all of the negativity out of your brain, and you're just saying, reset. I don't want that. Nope, that's a bad, I don't want that thought. I don't want that word. I don't want that belief. Reset. Reset, okay? So we're going to practice several reset breaths. We're going to breathe in deep. When I tell you, we're going to breathe in deep, and then we're going to blow out and say reset, right? All right, here we go. Everybody, breathe in. Breathe out and reset. Okay, try it again with a little bit more forcefulness, with a little bit more command. Tell your brain, no, reset. I don't want that in my brain right now. No. This is not the place for this. You're not going to come into my house, my living room, and start dumping trash all around it. I'm not with that. Let's go. Something else. Everybody breathe in. Breathe out hard. Yeah, good. Let's do it 2 more times. Breathe in. Breathe out. Last time, loud and proud. Breathe in. Breathe out. Very good. I like that. That's the command that you need to have in order to achieve the mental clarity that you need, the reset breath. So you need to have vision. You need to have form. You have to have good breath. And then finally, you need positivity. You have to have positivity. You've got to focus on your reasons to succeed. You've got to focus on why you're doing what you're doing. See, there's 2 different types of people in this room. There's 2 different types of leapers. Now, I know this is one of the most positive places on earth, but I need you to know there's still 2 different types of people. On one side, we have thermometers. Everybody say thermometers. Yeah, thermometers don't cost very much because they don't do very much. Thermometers don't cost a whole lot because all they do is give you an accurate reflection of their environment. If it's hot, the thermometer will tell you that it's, that's not a trick question. All of you can answer that. Okay, if it's hot, the thermometer will tell you that it's hot. If it's cold, the thermometer will tell you that it's cold. And so the thermometers don't cost very much because they don't do very much other than they react to the environment. Now, I told you that there were two different types of people. The thermometer people are the ones who wait for others to approve of them. They wait for others to tell them who they are. They wait for others to say, you look nice today. Wait for others to say, hey, this is what we should do. You sit on all of your ideas. You don't speak up. You don't say what is really on your mind because it might disrupt the pattern and the flow. The thermometer people are the ones who are always looking for an excuse. They're looking for an excuse. Well, I would try, but I would say something, but, I would ask her out, but I would go for this major, but. And so the thermometers have a lot of buts in their life. But the other side, if we have the thermometer, on the other side, we have another different type of person. That is the thermostat. Everybody say thermostat. The thermostats are very interesting because the thermostat has a little button on there. And it doesn't matter what the temperature is. A thermometer will tell you how it is. Thermostat will tell you how it's about to be. A thermostat doesn't look for any excuses. It just says what number you want. What's the goal? This is where we're going. The thermostats will tell you this is what we're going to do. Even if it's 85 now and we need it to be 72, well, I guess that means we're just going to have to get busy. A thermostat moment is when I was around mile 7 and I was saying, man, I'm so far and I'm running out of time. Well, I guess I'm just going to have to do it with sore muscles. I guess I'm just going to have to hurry up. I guess I'm going to have to figure it out. I guess it means I'm going to have to come to a point in which I'm going to have to increase my game because it's not going to happen any other way. The thermostats love this word, yet. See, the thermometer will say, well, it hasn't happened. Well, thermostats will say, no, it just hasn't happened yet. It's not that we can't do it. We just haven't seen it yet. Because when you understand what yet means that the best is yet to come. If you're a thermostat, it means if I'm on your team, we always have a chance to win. I don't care if we're down toward the end. Somehow, I'm going to figure out how to make this happen. I'm going to reinvent myself. I'm going to speak where I used to be quiet. I'm going to gather up all the people who didn't talk before. We're going to make sure that we get together. Somehow, because of what I am set on winning. I am set on making this happen. I'm set on being the change that I want to see in the world. I'm set on not just saying I'm a 10, but being a 10 every single day. See, everybody wants to be a 10 until it's time to do what 10s do. See, 10s aren't just people who say, hey, I'm a 10, look at me. You're not a 10 until you help somebody else see that they're a 10. You're not a 10 until you help somebody else see the 10 in them. You didn't come here just to have a little glory party about how great you are. What you're learning is how your 10 is minted. Your 10 is solidified when you help somebody else say, you know what? I can be a 10 too. That's what we're here for. And so the thermometers will look at how things are. The thermostats are the ones who bring the positivity. They bring the energy. Dennis Waitley said, you must either accept the circumstances as they are, or you must accept the responsibility of changing them. Every single day, we've got to figure out the answer to this question, why? Everybody say why. Yeah, why did this happen? Why do I have this grade? Why do I make this much money? Why am I this weight? Why am I single? Why am I with somebody? Why am I happy? Why am I sad? Every single day it's like an arm wrestling match. And the way that you define it will help you to figure out whether you're behaving like a thermometer or like a thermostat. You will, the battle is always between circumstances or choices. It's always between how things are or how you reacted to it, how you chose to respond. If you say, well, I would, but nobody has ever done this before. I would, but I'm a black woman and it's not too many black women in this industry. Well, I'm from this place. Nobody in my family has ever done this before. And so I feel out of place. It's so awkward. It's the circumstances that you're blaming. And I want you to add this to your notes. Whatever you blame has more control over your life than you do. Whatever you blame has more control over your life than you do. Don't tell me it can't be done. Don't tell me the sky is the limit when there's footprints on the moon. Don't tell me that it can't be done when somebody before who just believed in themselves went and did it. What you're saying is, I just haven't made the choice to become that. I haven't made the choice to go extra. And yes, sometimes in this world, you will have to do extra because of what you look like, where you're from, or some other circumstances. Yes, sometimes the playing field will not be fair. And sometimes it means you're going to have to make some choices that other people don't have to make. Deal with it. So are you going to do it? Yes or no? Yes. It's not about what other people do in relation to you or how you feel. I want you to write this down. Goals don't care about your feelings. Your goals do not care about your feelings. They don't care about whether it's a good day or a bad day, whether it's a rainy day, whether it's a good hair day, whether your friends are talking to you or talking about you. They don't care about that. Goals say, are you here to do the work or not? Is it about circumstances or is it about your choices? Now, Charlie is out working. I gave Charlie a handout. Did anybody know about that, the handout? Okay. If not, then that's okay. Not a problem. Not a problem. I know he's working. So I have something for you. And if not, then what we'll do, we'll just improvise. You could just number from 1 to 10. And this is what I want you to do. I want you to write your number. I want you to write your number on each one of these. This is the time for you to do a self-assessment of where you are. This is a great thing that we've never done here at LEAP before. So I want you to look at this. I'll read it to you, especially for those of you online. Hey, online family. I'm going to read it to you. Write your number. I'm a person who, number 1, keeps the promises I've made to others. 1 means, of course, not really. 5 means yes, definitely. Think about your life. How do you evaluate yourself? Number 1, I'm a person who keeps the promises I've made to others. Number 2, I'm a person who keeps the promises I've made to myself. Some of us will do more for others than we will for ourselves. Some of us say, no, I put myself first. Some of us struggle with putting ourselves first. Where are you? 1 through 5. Number 3, I'm a person who values who I am as an individual. I'm a person who values who I am. Number 4, I'm a person who has alignment between my people, between who people believe I am and my actual self. I'm a person who has alignment between who people believe I am and my actual self. Next one, I'm the person who is the type of person who people can depend on. Do you feel like you are dependable, or sometimes do you feel like you could be a little sketchy? Next, I'm a person who knows the value of my talents and abilities. What would you say? 1 to 5. You got it?
Oh, me?
You don't have to tell me. Do you have it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. What's your name? Luke. Luke. You look like a Luke. Luke. All the Lukes I know have nice arms. All right, next one. I'm the person who communicates my thoughts and ideas clearly. Do you communicate well, or do you somehow say, I know what I want to say, but it doesn't always come out right? Next, I am a person who knows which group or groups of people I want to impact through my career. Next. I'm a person who is pleased by my current reputation. I'm a person who's pleased with my current reputation. And then finally, I am a person who advocates for people who are not like me. That's a very interesting question. I have a history, I have some receipts of advocating, showing up for people who are not like me. It's easy to advocate for people like you. But do you advocate for people who are not like you? All right, take your numbers, and you may need to do a little quick math if you need a phone or something. Divide it by 10. Divide it by 10. And that's your average. Take your numbers, add them up, divide them by 10. Now we're about to get busy. Perfect. So, as you're doing this, just to move things along, I have a question for you. How many of you had some surprises as you looked at your number? How many of you were surprised by any of your answers? Not your average, just any of them as you looked. Okay, some of these were some pretty hard-hitting questions. We have some mics around here. Okay, talk to me. This is the time where we're just having a family conversation. Tell me about what some of your surprises were. We've got one right here. We've got one right here. Is that Hannah? Yes. One right here. And then who else? Keep your hands up. Okay, great. And then we have 3 over here. Okay.
We only have 2 mics.
Okay, cool. We'll just go to her next. And 4 on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. Yes.
Hello, my name is Kiara. I'm from Australia.
Hello.
I was really surprised. My first one was 5, so I keep promises that I make to other people 100% of the time. But for myself, it was a 2. So I know for a fact that I do things for other people that I wouldn't do for myself. And that's like, yeah, one of the things that surprised me because I didn't think that was true about myself. But yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Can we give her a big round of applause? Okay. 4 is over here. 2 is over here.
Hello, my name's Flynn. I'm from Australia.
Your name is what?
The one for the Flynn, sorry.
Flynn.
Yeah.
F-L-Y-N-N?
Yep.
I love your name.
Thank you. So the one that I was surprised by was the keeping promises to myself, because I looked back on sort of my goals and I haven't achieved them to the point that I wanted to. So I think, yeah, something to work on, I guess.
Fantastic. Thank you, Flynn. I appreciate you, my friend. Number 3, raise your hand so she can see you, please. Perfect. And then number 4 will be ready for you.
Oh my God.
What is your name?
My name's Malia, and I'm
Hey,
from
Malia.
and I'm from San Francisco. And what I kind of just found out is that I do a lot for other people. I knew that, but I just realized that I always break my values for someone. Does that make sense? Like I have like personal like beliefs. Like I say like I'm not gonna hang out with a toxic friend, you know? But I always break it because I feel like I can help them, or like there's some sort of change, and if I help them more, I can do it for them. But then it just turns out to be like really, really stressful. And I just realized that I do a lot for other people, just not a lot for myself.
Okay, so watch this. I'm going to take a book page from book of my dear colleague Mel Robbins. So you said, I break my promises to myself. Okay, so it's very interesting because when you say things like that, that is almost a command to your brain to keep doing it. So what you need to do is put some space between that. When you say, I break my promises, that is just as powerful as when you say, I am a 10. And so your brain is saying, I am a 10. I break my promises. Well, I'm confused which is more true. So what we're going to do is all of us, Malia is our leader. She's going to show us how to do this.
Nice.
Watch this. Watch this.
Oh, wait, that was hard.
Watch this. What I want you to simply say is, I have a pattern of breaking my promises. Okay? Because what we're doing is we're putting some distance between ourselves and you are not your behavior. Okay? So what you say is, I have a pattern of breaking my promises. And it's important that you say it this way because when we acknowledge it as a pattern, everybody say pattern. When you acknowledge that it is a pattern, then what we can do is create a new what? New pattern. Yeah, I can create a new pattern. This is called repatterning. I'm writing about it in my book, The Power of Connection. When you have a certain pattern, you say, I'm going to repattern this. And we're going to repattern this right now. Okay? I want you to say it. I have a pattern.
Oh.
Just our leader right here, just Malia. Malia, here we go. Say, I have a
pattern of breaking my promises.
Okay.
That was it, right? Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
Okay.
That's it. You did it. Give her a big round of applause. Now, no, we're not done yet.
No.
We're not done yet. Okay? I have a pattern of breaking my promises because, what's the because?
That's a really good question. Wait. Okay. I have a pattern because I think it's because I just feel like if I care for them enough, they might change.
Mm-hmm.
Because maybe it's because they don't have maybe they just don't. Ooh, damn. Oh. I'm so
You okay?
sorry.
She's from San Francisco. It's all good. They actually say damn in schools, in elementary schools.
I just think that they may not feel like they love themselves enough, So if I feel like if I show that I care for them, show that I'm there for them, they might finally realize that, oh, I love myself, or they know they have some sort of support system, because I realized that I don't really have that at least with my family. So if I do it with a friend that I know they need it, then maybe they feel they have some sort of support.
Mm-hmm. This is called when loving them is hurting you. When loving them is hurting you. So what you're doing, and I really admire you, you love people so much that you're willing to self-sacrifice and say, I'm going to do for you more than I'm even doing for myself because I just want you to win that much. That to me is a very courageous thing to do. It is in principle very noble, and I love you for that. You're an amazing type of human being. Now,
I love you too.
all right? I said in principle. I love the principle.
Oh. I love the principle of you too, man.
In practice, though, it's toxic. Because what we're saying is, your happiness is more important than mine. What we're saying is, I get my sense of self-worth through helping you, through building you back up. I get my sense of self-esteem through other people. And so the reason why it's toxic is because, Malia, you've got to love you more than you love them. And by you loving you, you're going to set an example of the self-love that needs to be shown. And that's the type of example that you want to set. You can't, this is one thing I want you to add to your notes. You can't shame yourself into changing. You've got to love yourself into evolving. You can't shame yourself into changing. You've got to love yourself into evolving. So here's what it sounds like practically. I have a pattern of putting other people first. But now, I'm establishing a new pattern of loving myself first. Okay? I have a pattern
I have a pattern
of putting other people first.
of putting other people first,
But I'm creating a new pattern
but I'm creating a new pattern
of loving myself first.
of loving, say that one more time.
Of loving myself first.
Of loving myself first,
Most
most,
and passionately.
and passionately.
I love myself first.
I love myself first.
I love myself most.
I love myself most,
And I love myself passionately
and I love myself passionately.
because I deserve it.
Because I deserve it.
Give her a big round of applause. All right. Number 4. It won't take this long, I promise.
Hello, I'm Austin from Los Angeles.
What's up, Austin from LA?
And I was a little bit surprised at my how do you assist others who are not like you? Because I found that, yeah, I help people who are like me and like play the same sports I do and act the way I do. But I don't maybe have that level of empathy for people who don't act like me.
Okay, so your empathy and leadership need to evolve then, you're saying. Okay, tell me, what's one thing that comes to mind when you think about another group that's not like you? Like when it just, first thing that jumps to your mind.
Well, I don't like have anything against them. It's just, I see them as distant because they're not like me.
Okay, and so what's the conversation in your mind when you say, I would rather not approach, I'd rather not engage?
I feel like they wouldn't appreciate someone who doesn't act like them, maybe. Yeah.
Okay, so I appreciate the honesty, Austin from LA. Here's what I want everybody to write down. Don't make up somebody's story for them. Don't make up that you don't know how they're going to respond. Well, I'm not like them, so they're going to respond this way. I live in the South, so there's a lot of dynamics that I experience all the time as a Black American, a lot of dynamics. And what I realize is that I oftentimes make up in my mind how people are going to treat me because of something that I decided was important. I decided this is the reason why you're going to act this way. And so because of that, then it becomes true. It manifests because I made it true. So don't make up somebody's mind. Here's what I want you to remember, Austin and everybody else who says, I need to advocate more for those people. Say, I may not be like you. I may not be like you. All of us, I may not be like you. But there's something about me that's just like you. I'm going to find it. I'm going to celebrate it. And I'm going to help you because you deserve it. That's what advocating for people who don't look, act, think, love, or vote like you looks like. And when you do that, you become what is called free. And it's not about what they think or what they say. It's about you being free from the internal bondage in your own brain about the perceived judgment that other people have in their mind about you. So when we look at ourselves, I want you to think about the pine cone. I went to Yosemite not long ago, and I discovered something about pine cones that really changed my life. Pine cones, what you see, one is open. Pine cones only open after something very interesting has happened? Anybody know? It has to have fire. It has to have fire. So the way that it experiences fire is you get a stroke of lightning that will light the tree on fire. And when that happens, you get a whole forest fire, and it starts to spread throughout the forest. The temperature begins to rise to levels that humans obviously cannot stand, and the fire proliferates from place to place. And all this time, that's when the tree, through evolution, begins to drop all these pine cones. The pine cones begin to open up, and it begins to release its seed. When it releases its seeds, then the wind and the fire all begin to carry it all around the forest for sometimes miles and miles away. That is nature's way of helping to proliferate these trees. Well, the fire is very interesting because man does not like fire. Mankind says, ooh, there's a fire, we need to put it out. Why? Because we have campers there, we have people with homes, we have wildlife. So man doesn't like fire, but that fire has a very interesting way of helping nature to do what it's supposed to do. So it's the fire. Everybody say fire. Fire. Loud and proud, say fire. Fire. It's the fire that actually brings forth the fruit. It's the fire that brings forth the reason why that pine cone does its best work. When we talk about the fire, everybody say fire. The fire is what we have to understand, that oftentimes we try to put out the fire, we try to douse the fire, but it's the fire. Everybody say fire. It's going through that fire process that makes us who we are. So when you look at your form and you look and say, well, I'm not good at this, I'm better at this, that's just a little bit of fire that's helping you to get to where you need to be. Jay-Z, we all know him, we celebrate his music. However, what you don't know about him is back in 1995, he had a big promise. He believed that he was going to be successful, but nobody would ever sign him. So he and Dame Dash and one of his other business partners founded Rockefeller Records. Rockefeller Records ended up becoming one of his greatest business successes, which produced other business successes. He learned how to go from being a businessman to being a businessman. It was all because people had told him no. It was all because people rejected him. All because they said, you're not good enough. You're not our material. That was the fire. Everybody say fire. He needed the fire in order to release the fruit. Another person whom we celebrate. How many of you have ever read a Harry Potter book? Yeah, if you can read at this point, you've read Harry Potter. J.K. Rowling, we know about her and what she's done, but let me just walk you through her life. 1992, she got married and had a child. 1993, she got divorced. Within 1 year, it was what she calls a shamefully short marriage. It was a horrible, toxic situation. That was the fire. Everybody say fire. But she said, you know what? There's just something inside me. I'm just going to keep on. I'm trying, but I still don't have any money. And so she, in 1994, got on welfare and said, you know, she tells her story. She said, I was as poor as you can be without being homeless. I had no money, no way to support my child. I had no way to gain any income, but I had this little story that I just believed in. I knew, remember this, there was a place which I believed I belonged. She had the seed, but the seed had not yet been released through the fire. 1995, she took that little story that she had to 12 different publishers. Will you buy my story? No. 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 She did it 12 different times. Everybody say fire. She had to go through the fire 12 different times. In 1995, that was her case. In 1996, she blew up. No, she didn't. Only 1,000 copies of Harry Potter were sold. And 500 of those 1,000 were to libraries. So she got a very small deal. Somebody kind of took a risk on her. They gave her $1,500 for her book. $1,500 is what Harry Potter was originally sold for. Now, I want you to do a little backtrack here. From 1993 to 1996, what if you were broke? What if you were almost homeless? What if you had a dream inside of you, but you had no idea if anybody else would ever see it. Has anybody ever felt that way before? Has anybody ever believed in yourself and you were the only person in the room who believed in yourself? Have you ever been in a place where it seemed like the odds were stacked against you and it just felt impossible? What you discover is when you're the only person who believes in you, you discover that one is all you need. In 1996, Harry Potter was sold for $1,500. In 1997, that's when it began to happen. Somebody happened to have read the book, and Harry Potter wins Children's Book of the Year. It happened again the following year, and she got a little bit of a break, but that was still a place where she was trying to figure out, was she going to make it? That fire, everybody say fire. That fire was still very hot in her life because she still had all the vestiges in her life of homelessness and hurt until finally now we look at her today. She is a billionaire with over 400 million copies sold. It's about being willing to go through that fire. Everybody say fire. It's about being willing to go through the fire. The fire is going to always challenge you until it changes you. The fire is going to always make you answer this question every single day. Will you be stopped? When I was running down Santa Monica Boulevard, I had to answer with every step, will you be stopped? If you believe you're a 10, but there are people who don't believe you're a 10. If you believe you're an eagle, if you believe that you're going to medical school, if you believe that you will be the best gynecologist or that you will be the best psychologist, that you will be the best plumber or teacher or whatever it is that's on your way, there will be people and things always set strategically to ask you every single time, will you be stopped? Somebody write this down in your notes. It's just a test. It's just a test. Sometimes when those anxious feelings start to come into your brain, you're trying to figure out, do I need to keep this quiet and not tell anybody? Maybe this is a sign from the universe that I need to just play it small. I need to stay in my place. It's just a test, Josh. It's just a test. It's asking you, will you be stopped? There's 3 rules for you to be able to get through this. 3 things you got to do to manifest the things in your life. I'm going to walk you through this. I'm going to walk you through it very quickly so that you know exactly what to do to take your life, your goals, your dreams, your vision to the next level. We're almost done with our LEAP experience. This is the next level where you begin to manifest these things and walk it out. First, you got to see it. Everybody say, see it. See it. Next, you got to say it. Everybody say, say it. Say it. Third, you've got to feel it. Everybody say, feel it. Feel it. Let me walk you through this. First, you got to see it. Everybody say, see it. See it. So, Ohio State University did a research study about the game of basketball. They were testing how well people could shoot free throws. And they decided they would break a group of people who played basketball regularly up into 3 different groups. So they had 3 different groups of people. Group number 1, they did 30 minutes of practice every single day. Group number 2, they just did 30 minutes of visualization. No actual practice. They didn't touch the ball at all. They just visualized. No actual court experience. Group number 3, they did nothing. They just took a week off, and then they came back later. Watch this. After a week, this is what they discovered that was shocking and life-changing. Group number 1, after practicing for 30 minutes every single day, they had a 24% increase. Group number 2, after visualization, they had a 23% increase. Group number 3, they had a 0% increase. They did nothing and they got nothing. And some of you look at it and go, well, wait a minute, that's just 23%. Why would I even get excited about this? all they did was visualize. All they did was see themselves in another place. All they did was see themselves making the goal. They never actually improved their actual skill, and they performed just as well as the people who sat there practicing their skill. All they had to do was just see themselves more successful. All they had to do was just see themselves being better. All they had to do was see themselves at the top. All they had to do was see themselves on another level, and then they got almost the same level of increase as the people who actually went out and practiced. So my question is, what are you seeing? What do you see when you look at yourself? What do you see when you look at yourself in the mirror, or when you look at your future, when you look at who you are as a star among stars in a room like this? What do you see when you look at yourself? Anybody else besides me ever looked at yourself in the mirror and the only thing you could see are the flaws? What you see begins to inform what you believe. And what you believe determines how you behave. And how you behave determines your habits. And your habits determine your lifestyle. So if you can just see yourself winning, if you can just see some things happening, if you could just see yourself, Maxim, just see some things differently, it begins to set off a whole different cascade of positive outcomes in your life. Anybody here besides me like sports? If you do, say I do. If you like sports, then you know what I'm talking about here. I remember a time when during football season, I'm a person who likes to go to church. So I go to church, but sometimes that conflicts with my football schedule. I don't always so I've got to, I got to figure out which one, because in Texas, football is still a religion too. And so I'm trying to figure out, what am I going to do? But I don't want to go to the pearly gates. And it's like, well, I hadn't been here in 6 months, but the Cowboys are popping, right? So I can't do that. And so I've got to figure it out. So what I will do sometimes is I will not watch the game. I will record the game. Now, when I record the game, I've got a big thing that I'm looking forward to, because then I get to watch the game just like everybody else. But then I've also got a big problem. I can't check the score. I've got to keep ESPN in my pocket. I can't, Helen, talk to anybody about the game. I'm avoiding all text messages. I don't want anybody to say, oh, did you see that big catch in the end? I don't want anybody to give it away. I remember one time when it was a really big game. It was a big divisional rivalry. It was a huge thing for me. And I wanted to watch the whole game from its entirety. I had a whole plan. I had everything set up. I was going to have it all set up just like it was live. And I remember the time when I made the mistake of checking my phone. And I happened to see the end score of the game. But here's the thing. As I was watching the game, it was late in the game, and the team I wanted to win was way down. And the opponent was up by a lot. And I'm going, wait a minute. There's only 3 minutes left, and this game seems like it's already out of control. How could this possibly be the case? No. But I knew I had already seen the score. I had already seen the end. So I don't know how. I'm not sure where. I'm not sure why. But somehow this thing was going to flip. Now, of course, I began to question, well, maybe I saw the wrong score. But I know the score I saw. I know it ended up that way. Turns out there was a real weird freak play at the end, and they scored really quick. And then they got a fumble, and they got the ball back, and then they scored again real quick. And so at that point, I began to believe and say, wow, I guess it was right. I guess it was true. See, my doubt had me questioning whether what I saw was actually true. But once it started to manifest, it started to work itself out, I then began to believe in what I once saw. See, when you have a clear vision of your life, it doesn't matter what things look like right now. Carla, it doesn't matter what is happening and manifesting now. You know what you saw. You know you saw yourself on that stage. You know you saw yourself opening that business. You know you saw yourself helping people. You know you saw yourself buying your mother a home or riding in this car. I know what I saw. So what I'm going through right now, it has to change. I don't know how, I don't know where, but somehow this thing is going to flip in my favor because I know what I saw. There's a guy named Jack Nicklaus, some call him the greatest golfer of all time. He said, I never hit a shot, not even in practice, without having a very sharp, in-focus picture of it in my mind. Don't ever do anything without first visualizing what you want to have happen. Allyson Felix, known as one of the greatest runners of all time, she said, I'm a big believer in visualization. I run my races mentally so that I feel even more prepared. Don't ever do anything without first seeing it. Number one, you've got to see it. Everybody say, see it. See it. Then you've got to say it. Say it. You got to say it. You know, I learned something by watching fleas. Do you know that you can actually train a flea? This blew me away. Watch this. So when you look at a flea can normally jump about 2 feet high. But fleas can be trained to do even what their nature would not suggest that they should do. All you have to do is take a bunch of fleas, put them in a jar, and then place the lid on the jar. Scientists proved this in an experiment. They took the fleas, put them in the jar, and at first they would start jumping. And then eventually they got kind of tired of jumping and hitting their head. Wait, I'm not jumping anymore. Until eventually they got tired of jumping and hitting their head on this jar. And then once they stopped jumping and hitting their head high enough, the scientists then removed the jar. They removed the top. They were free to go back to doing what they were born to do. But Trinity, the fleas would never jump higher than the distance of the lid. But that's not the cool part. The craziest part is, not only would the fleas not jump any higher than the distance of the lid, their offspring also would not jump any higher than that lid. Based on what they were conditioned to believe was true, they never pushed beyond their perceived limitation. Based on what they believed to be true, they never pushed beyond what they believed. And so when you look at yourself, your life, your future, Luke, what I want you to do is you've got to speak big talk. You've got to speak bigger than anything that you can currently see right now. Because this is what I need you to understand. You've got a big promise on your life. You're going to do something really amazing. You're going to shock a lot of people. You're going to prove some people right, and you're going to prove some people wrong. And there will be a lot of challenges along the way. But here's what I need you to know, Luke. If you can already see how it's going to happen, you're not dreaming big enough. If you can already see how this thing is going to manifest, how this location is going to happen, then it means you're supposed to have multiple locations. If you can already see how your vision is supposed to happen, then it means that you need to say something bigger. Hey, I want to have this. No, I need to have multiple. I need to have this type of impact. You've got to speak something really big, so big that it scares you, so big that you think, I must be crazy, so big that it's going to require you to become a different type of person in order to achieve it. You've got to say big things. You've got to speak what is not as though it were until it is. So I'll give you an example. Most of us have been conditioned to believe small things. If you look at this bottle of water, bottles of water, if you go to the grocery store and buy them in bulk, they're About, I don't know, like 50 cents or so if you buy enough of them. You can get them for about 50 cents. That same bottle, everybody say same. That same bottle, if you go to a ballpark, it's about $5. Everybody say same thing. But that same bottle, if you go to a hotel, it's about $15. Everybody say same thing. Here's what I need you to understand about this. Every time you have a bottle of water, I want you to understand this. If you're around people who don't see your value, it's not that you're not valuable. What it says is you're just in the wrong place. You know, some people will tell you, oh, I see, oh, okay, you're just a little overachiever. Oh, I see, you're just a little overachiever. No. When people call you an overachiever, what they're saying is you've achieved over their expectations for your life. So you look at them and say, no, I'm not an overachiever. You're just an under-recognizer. You got to understand that your value is based on what you say. So here's what I'm going to tell you. I wish I could say it in the language that I would normally use. But Dawson, I want you to understand this. I want you to hear me when I tell you this. Stop talking trash about yourself. Stop speaking negatively, Olivia, about yourself. Stop saying what you're not, what you don't know, and what you can't do, what you're not good enough at. Stop saying, I ask you, who are you? What do you like? You say, well, I don't know. I'm not really that good at this. I don't know. But when you keep saying, I don't know this, I don't have that, what you're saying is to your brain, I don't know what I want you to do. So when you tell somebody where to go, you don't say, don't get on the 405, don't get on I-10, don't do this. Instead, you've got to give them exact and clear destination. You got to tell them what you want of them and where you want them to go. So don't is not a destination. Nobody, add this to your notes, please. Never allow someone else's opinion of you to mean more than your opinion of you. There's something I hear all the time, and Samantha, I really don't like it. It really ticks me off. People say things like, well, don't brag on yourself. Let other people tell you. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I heard that. I used to even say that until I really realized how stupid that was. Watch this, Christian. Let me ask you a question. Christian, let's see the time of day. Christian, are you hungry right now?
Yes.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
No, you're not.
What makes you say that?
Because I don't believe that you're hungry right now. I just think that hey, I'm not hungry, so you shouldn't be hungry.
But I'm really hungry.
No, you're really not.
Okay.
It's foolish to argue with somebody to tell them whether or not they're hungry. I can look at him, I can know his name, I could be his best friend, I could be his relative, I can be all these things to him. But I don't have the authority to tell Christian how he feels on the inside. So why do you allow somebody to tell you whether you're smart, whether you're attractive, whether you can make it? Only you know that. Only you know if you're hungry, and only you know if you're attractive, if you're smart, if you can make it happen. Only you know that. So just like me telling him, you can't, you're not, it doesn't make any sense because I'm not in his body. Only he knows that. So Malia, when people, he's back to me again. Malia, never allow someone else's opinion of you to mean more than your opinion of you. The more, add this to your notes, the more you say it, the truer it becomes. The more you say it, the truer it becomes. As you start to believe it, Christian, you start to behave like that. So I actually look in the mirror and I talk to myself in a crazy way. Some of you might think it's really wild, but I look at myself and say, you look good today, man. if I wasn't you, I would give you my number. I would tell myself, sometimes like I've gained a little weight in certain places. I'm kind of like, I hide it really well. Like I blame it on my dad. My dad was a track star, so he had like real big legs and everything. I'm telling you, if I was a woman, I would be like a female rapper. Like all my stuff is like right here. Nicki Minaj would have nothing on me. I'm telling you, it's all right here. Every time I was looking at myself running down Santa Monica Boulevard, I catch myself in the mirror. I say, "Let me ride that donkey, donkey. Let me ride that donkey, donkey." I'm telling you, your boy is stacked, right? So sometimes I look at myself and go, "Man, this is ridiculous. Okay, I've got to get back down to where I want to be." But you know what? Instead of saying negative things, you know what I would say? These big hips are sexy. I don't care what anybody says. Whatever. We don't like our eyes, our nose. These pimples on my face are sexy. I don't care what anybody says. Whatever you don't like about yourself, you got to reverse the energy. Everybody say, reverse the energy. You just reverse the energy. Whatever it is, you just say, it's sexy. I don't care what anybody says. Why is it? Because you said it is. And you never allow anybody else's opinion to mean more. Finally, you've got to feel it. Everybody say, feel it. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to really sound up. I'm almost done talking. This is your time to talk now. Three things. I want you to make 3 circles on your paper. Number 1, what do you believe in? What are you really connected to? What do you believe in? I want you to write for a minute something that you're really deeply passionate about. What do you believe in? I believe in rights for these people. I believe that all people should. What's the big idea behind your life? My son never texted me, so that means he wasn't watching. What do you believe in? What are some words that describe who you are beyond what I could learn about you from Google? What are some words that describe who you are at your core, what you really feel, and nobody can take it away from you? Oh, he said he is watching. All right. Next circle. What do you fight against? Now, I didn't say who do you fight against. That's not important. That is the wrong answer to this question. I'm not saying who. We don't fight against any people. We fight against ideologies and systems and beliefs. I fight against the belief that. I fight against systems that produce. What do you fight against? This is what you feel on the inside. Mic runners, get ready. Let them have the opportunity to close this thing. What do you fight against? What do you fight against? What's that fight that you say, you know what? If I spent the rest of my life doing this, it would be a good use of my life. And then finally, who do you show up for? Who are the people who inspire you to be your best self? What do you believe in? What do you fight against? And who do you show up for? These are your people. All right, let's start with circle number 1. What do you believe in? What are some things that you believe in? Raise your hand high so they can find you with the mic. What do you believe in? Okay, let's do 1 right here. because I really like that striped shirt. I like it. And then we'll go 2 right here, and then 3. Oh, okay. And then we'll do 4. 4. Actually, we'll do 3 there and then 4 here, since you're already there. Yes. What is your name?
My name is Liam Young, and one thing I believe in is people.
I love it. I love it. And Liam, what do you fight against?
Ignorance, I think.
Tell me more.
Well, there's nothing that's really more that gets on my nerves, I would say, is when people don't have the capacity to learn more about a subject. Sorry, I'm standing. And so they don't want to learn more, and so they just believe what they believe, even though they don't know the full story.
I love it. And who do you show up for?
People who need it.
People who need it. What does that mean? Like people who need...
One thing that came to mind when I wrote it down was people who give themselves to other people and they don't have anyone for themselves.
Fantastic. I love it. Can we give our friend Liam a big round of applause? Right. Who was number 2? Where was number 2? Where was number 2? Number 2, number 2, number 2. Okay, here we go. Perfect. Thank you very much.
My name is Enzo.
Like the Ferrari.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
One thing I believe in is I really believe in grit and hard work.
Yes.
I fight against the turkeys, people who don't believe, people who don't really work hard.
So watch this. So we don't want to fight against people. We want to fight against a mentality, right? We fight against the belief that we fight against a belief that keeps people from being their best.
Yes, sir.
Okay? So let's rephrase that, okay? Because it's never against people. It's against principalities, not people. So let's say it again. We fight against...
I fight against the people who don't try to do
not the people.
I fight against the principle of those who don't try their hardest or do their best.
Okay? Cool. And then...
Who I show up for?
Yeah.
I really show up for my family, my brother especially.
Love it. All right, Enzo, like Ferrari. Number 3.
Hi, hello, my name is Ryan. The first question, which one was it?
What do you believe in?
Oh, what I believe in? I believe in mistakes, that everyone is human and they have to learn from it and then move on.
Love it, love it. And what do you fight against?
What if I against? I had it on the top of my head. I fight against... can we go to the third question?
Okay.
Please.
I get it, brother. I get it. After 16 miles, I'm right there with you. Who do you show up for?
Oh, I show up for my parents mostly because they're immigrants, and
yeah.
so I want to go to a college, first generation, and set an example for my little brother.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. And what do you fight against?
I fight against, mentality that putting yourself down, insulting yourself, it's not going to help you at all. Like, you have to motivate yourself, learn from everything you see, and always improve from it. That's what I say.
I love it. I love it. Give him a big round of applause. Last one was up here. Last one, number 4. You're going to close us out.
Hi, my name is Sophia Chambon. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. And I believe in bravery and boldness, that if you want to get anywhere in life and become successful, you have to do something crazy and wild, but really rewarding.
Love it.
I am in a fight against, I call it the little devil, which is this little voice that lives rent-free in my head that I am constantly in a battle against.